Hello, beautiful souls. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're watching this. This is for the month of June. It is a collective reading. It's not sign specific. There is quite a bit going on astrologically, and we'll go through it on the daily readings. We do have daily readings on the channel every single day. So we will go more in depth about that, but I will kind of give you an overall energy. We have the full moon in Sag that's happening on the 11th. And then we have the new moon in Cancer that's happening on the 25th. So there are those two lunar energies, but there's also this applying square between the Sun and Neptune that's happening throughout the month, and it's going to be exact on the 22nd of June. I think that's another important thing that we can talk about. But other than that, again, we'll talk more about it in as far as the daily readings go. So let's see what we need to know. Okay, there it is. So as far as focus goes, we have awareness and completion. So this month, it's the Chariot and the World. So this month, our focus seems to be, well, it's funny because it's kind of ironic. Our focus is on focus, right, with that awareness. But being more aware, I think, of the direction in your life, or being more aware of where your life is going. Being more aware of, I'm feeling like shadows here, right? So being more aware of your shadow self, other people's shadow selves. Maybe your awareness and your consciousness goes up a level on a situation or just life in general. But your perception is definitely opening up this month. Completion, that last puzzle piece there. So completing maybe a massive cycle, maybe a small cycle. Maybe it doesn't have to be a big cycle, but maybe you're completing something that has taken a long time. Closing out a chapter in your life. Maybe you are saying goodbye to a job or a relationship, or maybe you are retiring, or there seems to be like a milestone piece here. Maybe it has to do with that awareness and that perception there. Maybe we can bring that up a little bit, like if you complete one level of awareness and you open up to a perception of another level of awareness, and that is another puzzle piece of yourself, right? All right, what could be I'm trying to get these in the camera. What could be a potential block or challenge that hinders them from awareness? Let's start with that first. Perseverance. In this image, she is a beautiful singer, okay? She's a wonderful singer, but she has given up the cape. She has given up the spotlight. She's given up the life of the glamorous life that she loves so much because she doesn't feel like she can. So there is a message here of you being aware of the things that you can do still. All right. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It doesn't matter what society thinks, what other people think. There's a need to push through, and that's why the perseverance is coming up as a potential block or challenge. There's a need to keep going this month. Do not stop. Do not let anything stop you. Do not have excuses or circumstances stop you from doing that. Okay? And when I say excuses, like the things that we like to tell ourselves why we can't do something. What could be a block or challenge for them to complete cycles this month? No, that's not it. What could be a block or challenge for them to complete cycles? Okay, there we go. Grief. Now, I feel like for the last month or so, we've talked a lot about grief on the channel. But that makes sense. In order for you to close the door on something, to close the chapter on something, you can't let grief stop you. Obviously, in this image, it's intense grief because she's losing a loved one, but it doesn't have to be that intense grief. But all grief is still grief, right? So how do you process grief? How do you move through grief? What is your plan set in place when it comes to grief, right? How do you handle it, really, essentially, is the question here, and not letting that block you from closing out a chapter in your life, because it does seem like that's the main, I feel like this is the main energy this month is the need to close out chapters, the need to close doors. I keep seeing you closing the door and locking the key, like, and then throwing the key even, and being like, I'm done with this. So there is an energy of that – playing out. Did another one flip? No. Wow. Wow. All right, bottom of the deck, background energy, we have the Hierophant. So a few things can be in the background energy for the month. We have loyalties, we have traditions, we have wisdom. Teacher-student archetype could be really highlighted this month. If you have a mentor, if you have someone that you can go to, for some advice, then seek them out. If you can give advice, give the advice, especially if it has to do with spiritual wisdom or wisdom of any sort, really. Don't hold back on giving that out. But I'm really getting a sense of loyalty here, duty, honor, right? A mission of sorts. Now, I was saying wow because we have two aces on the table, and I'm going to clarify each before I talk about it. But we have the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. The first one that came out was the Three of Wands. Then we had the Ten of Wands in reverse, which I don't know how that happens. Every time, I swear, I fix the decks. So this really needs to be in the reverse, right? This is what I'm talking about. The cards will naturally go into reversal if they need to. So I like that. I love that it's in the reverse. I love that the Page of Swords came out directly after it. And the Seven of Swords is here. So let's clarify this Three of Wands first, please. This Three of Wands. Hangman. Ace of Wands. Six of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Swords. Wow, we have three aces. If we get all four aces, I'm going to lose it. Three of Swords on the Ten of Wands in reverse. Page of Swords. That is a lot. That is a lot that's being cleared out. There's quite a bit that's being cleared out in your life, especially some really tough situations that have pushed you to the limit. Or just maybe it was just one situation, but there's definitely a portal opening up, a timeline shift. This is like complete freedom from negativity. Page of Swords. Can I get just one card of what's clearing out? Thank you. Oh, interesting. Queen of Wands. Seven of Swords. What's clearing? What's the Seven of Swords? Because this could be a lot. Oh my goodness. We're getting a whole story here. There's a Three of Wands back again with the Tower, Six of Swords, and Justice. Justice is feeling very strong there. And the Tower. Okay. Bottom of the deck, Queen of Pentacles. So we have two queens and three aces. That's definitely telling me a story. But the fact that the Queen of Pentacles is in the background to clarify the Hierophant, I'm going to go back to loyalty. I mean, I feel like this is the message of the month. Who has your loyalty? And who gives you loyalty? Not only who, what, right? Also what and where, because a job can give you loyalty, or you can have a loyalty to a job, and that's a place. So, but I mean, that's also an entity itself, right? That's a company that you could work for. But if the place itself is important, right? Maybe you stay at a job because the commute is short, right? Or it's in your area. There's that. But the Queen of Pentacles, she's a very patient energy. She is nurturing in her own way. She did not get to be a Queen of Pentacles by doing nothing, so she has taken the action. Very realistic, right? Very practical woman. And she shares. That's the thing about her. She's very giving. And the fact that it's the Hierophant and the Queen of Pentacles together on the bottom of the deck, it really makes me ask, is there a need to balance the sharing and the giving in your life? Hangman clarifying this Three of Wands. So there seems to be a 180. You're kind of doing a 180 this month on something. You were heading in a certain direction, or you wanted to create this thing or take action on it, and you might change your mind. You might change your mind either on it in its entirety, or you might change your mind on how you go about doing it. And this is about doing. It's not about thinking or feeling. This is about doing with this energy here. Okay? There is also an ending, and maybe that's why that completion energy is there. There's an ending of a really long waiting period where you have felt like your hands were tied behind your back, like you couldn't do anything. You were backed into a corner. All control was taken from you. That seems to be ending. Six of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. Oh, okay. I forgot that the Six of Pentacles clarified this. So we go back to that giving and receiving. The reciprocity. Is it balanced, right? Are you giving and receiving in balance? There needs... No, I don't think there needs... There is going to be a new beginning. And this new beginning kind of sparks the road to something more realistic, to something more practical. Now, the Ace of Swords is clarifying the Ace of Pentacles. When I say that this is a very real idea that you have, this idea that, like, this is, for me, this combination is like a claircognizant idea. Like, this is an idea that comes from your higher self. This is an idea that is an epiphany moment. It's an inspiration from the hand of God itself. Like, you have a very powerful idea that needs to be made real, okay? And I think you're going to be doing that this month. I think you're going to be planting that seed. Whatever this idea is about, it can bring real results, tangible results in your life. And it will change the course of your life. Like, it will change the timeline shift. Now, you do have the Three of Swords with this Ten of Wands. The fact that the Three of Swords is in the upright and the Ten of Wands is in reverse, I did like that the Ten of Wands is in reverse because it does tell me that the pain and suffering is over, but you're still carrying it, and that's okay, and that's why grief came out with completion, right? You're still carrying that pain and suffering, and you're still processing some pain and suffering, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's basically what this card is saying, because you know that it's over, you're aware, again, that awareness, right? And maybe you're aware of this new idea and to bring it into fruition, but you're aware that the pain and suffering is still there, but you're just not letting it kind of push you to a limit. All right? You're not letting it take control. I have to pause here for a second. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't mention it. In the beginning, I didn't mention it. So let me get you the exact day, because the other thing... is on the 15th, there's that exact square between Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, so we have a square between the Sun and Saturn on the 22nd, and then we have the exact square between Jupiter and Saturn on the 15th, which is literally immediately right after the full moon. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because what we were talking about with this, because that kind of square can reprogram your belief systems. And we have that with the Hierophant on the bottom of the deck. So, and the World card underneath that. So twice you have the World card about completing a cycle. Okay? So you're completing a cycle on how you carry and how you process pain and suffering. And what you've learned from it, right? And the mind and heart coherence. That's the whole point of why the Three of Swords was designed the way that it's designed. Obviously, nobody knows exactly where tarot originated. Tarot is very, very magical. But the earliest evidence that we have of tarot is from the Egyptians. So we do know that. And they really had this strong sense when it came to, especially alchemy, about mind and heart coherence. So making sure that those two are in alignment, right? If your heart is in one spot and your mind is in another spot, then it's really difficult to process anything, especially pain and suffering, which is pretty low on the energetic scale. So when you get those two in coherence and when you get those two in alignment, then you're really fully able to kind of drop that burden. Because right now you're carrying, this month, you're carrying the burden of whatever this pain and suffering is. Now you got the Queen of Wands clarifying that Page of Swords. And remember, we had a whole story trying to fly out for this Page of Swords. So there's a lot that's being cleared. There's a lot of change in the winds above you. And this clearing is being clarified by the Queen of Wands, which, very confident woman, right? She just does whatever she feels she wants to do in the moment. She lives for the moment. She lives life to the fullest. She knows that she is spiritually protected. So you need to understand that. First and foremost, understand that you are spiritually protected. I think that the cat is the spirit animal for the month. So look that up. And I know the cats can indicate not only protection, but also independence. And the Queen of Wands is very independent. So what do you want to do independently as your own person, as your own being, right? But yeah, I think it's almost like things are made clear. Like you make it clear to other people that this is the path that you want to take. This is the road that you want to take. This is what you want to do. This is the action that you want to take. And you make it pretty clear to people that you are confident, that you do have a sense of internal understanding, that only you know best, right? But there was a lot about clearing that negative energy with that card. There was that devil and that Seven of Swords and actually the Seven of Swords is next. So really, maybe what is being hidden or what is being kept from you, and the fact that it's Justice in the Tower that came out to clarify that, I think is a strong message about things being made right. It's like, it doesn't matter if because there's an energy here, whether it's a person, place, or entity, right? That is being very sneaky. It's not being very open, not being very straightforward with you, kind of hiding some things, very deceptive energy. It is going to be cleared out, all right? Maybe unexpectedly, maybe not in a very pretty way with the Tower there, not in a very, it's going to be difficult to handle. Whatever the truth that comes out, whatever things are made right might be difficult to handle, and maybe that's why you're still carrying the pain and grief, but you are going to be able to handle it, okay? And you are going to be able to clean up the mess. You're going to be able to pick up your crown, put it back on your head, and lead life in a very beautiful way, okay? So no worries on this is really what Justice is saying. Justice is saying it's going to look like the Tower is on fire and it's falling apart, but that crown that is being dropped is going to be picked right back up, is what I'm getting a sense of. And that's why perseverance, remember, that's why perseverance might be a challenge to that awareness, because you need to clear that awareness and say, you know what, I'm going to let that tower fall because I know that I can rebuild a much more strong tower to replace that. Okay, so let's get last bits of advice for the month of June. Last bits of advice for the month of June. Savoring pleasure. I fully embrace bliss in my life. Bliss is the path to ascension. Bliss is the key to ascension. So in order for us to level up in our awareness is through bliss. And I know that in some aspects or in some versions of a spiritual journey, bliss is looked at as almost like a sin, but it's crazy. Bliss is not a sin, right? If you look at the mechanics, even if you look at the science of ascension, bliss is the key to opening up the soul. So if it brings pleasure in a healthy way, okay, let me rephrase this because I don't want you to think like, oh, I'm going to go get wasted every single night on alcohol. No. Bliss, true bliss, okay, this is what I'm talking about. The bliss of the soul. If you follow the bliss of the soul and what your soul wants to do, then that's the key to ascension. What else? Listening to your heart. This is very important. I trust the messages I receive from my heart. So heart chakra activations, clearly going through some grief with that. And then we have also sacral chakra activations. But yeah, making sure, because the heart is the center, right? The center of the mind-body complex. The soul template, that's the heart. It's connected to Gaia herself, and then it's connected to the sun in our solar system, and then it's connected to the center of the galaxy, and then connected to the center of the universe, right? That's where the heart sits. So if you listen to it and you trust what your heart is telling you, then you're able to follow it more easily towards that pleasure, towards that completion, right? One more from this deck, please. Advice for the month of June. Okay, we have coming into power. I step into my power boldly and confidently. And that's that Queen of Wands. Remember, that's what's being cleared. Boldly and confidently, right? Standing firm, standing your ground, not budging, I feel like. That's how you can come into power, letting the light of the universe, of your higher self, of you, of your soul. Again, this is about you and your soul. Letting that come into power in order to boldly and confidently take control of what your destiny is, because I feel like that's essentially the message here. What about from this deck? Any last minute messages? Okay, we already got it out. Reach for the stars. Do not hold back, right? Do not limit yourself. Reach for the stars and then reach even further. Set those standards high. Let go and enjoy. Then there's that, again, that need to just be in the moment. That's that Queen of Pentacles, right? To do things now. Don't worry about the logistics of things. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just enjoy it. One more from this deck. Accept disappointments gracefully. I think this is good advice any day, any month. If it's a disappointment, accepting it, like, it's just, I know that that's easier said than done, especially when it's a huge disappointment. It's a huge letdown. Like, I don't know, you've been trying to get a job for like a month. Actually, you know what? I will use, while I'm pulling last bits of advice from this deck, I'll use an example from my life to kind of give you an idea, right? I spent all year last year, I changed jobs 5 times. The first job that I wanted, I really, really wanted, and I went in January. I waited an entire month. They told me no. I went through the whole process, all 3 interviews, everything, the drug test, all that. They told me no. Now I work there. A year later, it took until the following January, where they asked again, hey, do you want to try again? We would like to have you join us. And I was like, oh God. And I thought I was going to be disappointed again. I work there now and I like this job. Okay. So sometimes a disappointment, I guess my point is, especially with justice being there, right? Especially with karmic completion coming out twice with the World card. Sometimes disappointments don't work out in the moment, but later on they work out, and they work out even better the second time, or in a way that you maybe needed the second time. Does that make sense? Like, it just wasn't going to work the first time, and it wouldn't have worked for me the first time. So that's what I want to say. All right, best advice, last bits of advice here. The end of a difficult situation. Embrace the change and expect things to get better now. Recovering from an addiction. Okay, so expecting things to get better. It's over. It's done. You can now grieve and move on, right? One more. Thank you. 8 of water. A desire to move on. What did I just say? The search for something more meaningful, spiritual, and emotional growth. These are spiritual growing pains, okay? Going through this completion of these cycles, or this one massive cycle, whatever is going on in your life, you're going to go through some spiritual growing pains. But it's something more meaningful, something more tangible. Remember, we have those 3 aces on the table. The only one that we're missing is that Ace of Cups. So maybe the path to that is that self-love and self-care and self-worth. But, yeah. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this helped. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great month. Make sure you tune into the daily videos for more messages, and I will see you in the next reading.